All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm London Breed, Mayor of San Francisco, and I am so excited to be here today with so many amazing people to talk about something that is so important. Just this past week, we had a big event celebrating a $600 million affordable housing bond that will go on the ballot this November. And I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for passing that unanimously. And I want to say that there's something in there for everyone, for our low-income families and seniors, to our middle-income residents, to our teachers. We know that housing affordability is critical to the success of our city, and I am grateful for the Board of Supervisors for passing that ballot measure, and I am hopeful, with fingers crossed, that the voters will support that, and we are putting forward that housing bond without raising property taxes. So I just want to say that over and over and over again. So today, we have another opportunity. Today, we are signing the legislation to put a $628 million bond on the ballot to help with our emergency facilities all over San Francisco. And we are also doing that without raising property taxes. The goal is to put this on the March ballot. And so we're going to have to work hard to get voters to approve this one as well. And I just want to start by thanking Naomi Kelly and the city administrator and the Capital Planning Committee. Because of the work of this Capital Planning Committee over the years, we've been able to have a very well thought out plan for investing dollars in facilities that the city owns, especially our public safety facilities. And in 2010 and in 2014, voters passed these bonds without raising property taxes, but with almost 80% of the vote to support rehabilitating facilities all over San Francisco. And just this year, I was really excited about cutting the ribbon on Station 5, which is my home station where I used to get my toys from as a firefighter. And thank you to Local 798. I see Tom O'Connor and others who really helped to support that bond, our firefighters and our police officers, fixing our buildings and making sure that they could sustain an earthquake is so critical to protecting the lives of our citizens. And in fact, we all know and are reminded from last week, the major earthquake that happened in Southern California and the devastating impact that it had on that community. We are reminded that we have to be prepared. It's not about if, it's about when a disaster strikes. So what are we going to do to make sure that our public safety personnel can focus on the work that they need to do to save lives and not necessarily the challenges that exist with the buildings that house them and the buildings that could potentially house people if we need to shelter folks during a disaster. I mean, Kezar is a perfect example of a location, Kezar Pavilion, where we enjoy incredible basketball games. Kezar Pavilion is not seismically safe. It is one of the facilities that could potentially qualify for additional revenue so that if necessary, we can use that as a shelter facility in case a disaster hits. We have to be thinking ahead in not only repairing the buildings that we know need to be repaired, like Park Station, which is currently undergoing some renovations, and other police and fire station and public safety buildings, our 911 center where we send out dispatchers. All of these places matter. So when a disaster hits, their only job is to focus on saving lives of the citizens of San Francisco and not worried about the conditions of their buildings and whether or not they're in a bad condition in the first place themselves. So today, we are announcing a $628 million public safety bond for earthquake safety and emergency response for the March ballot, as I said. And I am just so excited and so proud of the work that we did, collaborating with the board, collaborating with the Capital Planning Committee to do this in such an incredibly responsible way. And I just want to thank all of you for being here, joining us, because this is exciting for the future of San Francisco. We know that there are challenges in our city, and we know that we have to make the right kinds of investments, not only for the issues we face today, but the issues that we know we will face tomorrow. It's important to protect our infrastructure in a responsible way, and this is just taking us one step further to doing just that. And so I'm really excited to be here with so many incredible people, including the supervisor who represents District 5. Many of you all know Vallie Brown. She's been a community activist in this district for so many years. Not only does she spend time cleaning it up, I mean personally, literally in the mornings, picking up trash with her own picker, but she also spends a lot of time fighting for resources in this community. Whether it's our public safety locations or our community locations, she's been a real advocate, and some of you know the work that was done here at Kezar Drive. Also the track that was repurposed, and Commissioner Buell, what was the location over here by the Kezar Triangle? What is that called? Yeah, the Kezar Triangle with public and private dollars. We're transforming this area, and when I served as supervisor, the person who was really actively engaged in working with the community and helping to bring together public and private resources to get these projects done for this community was no other than your current supervisor for District 5, Vallie Brown.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. I'm really happy to be standing here today and to be talking about this. Just a few months ago, we were at Fire Station 5, brand new, opened. Not only is it absolutely state-of-the-art and beautiful, but it also is going to be a hub if anything happens in this city. And when I think about that we have so many other stations and other buildings that we need to have this kind of bond money to be able to fix them up. So if we do have earthquakes or we have things that happen in this city, that we're prepared. When we look at, and I know Mayor Breed was talking about Kezar and other places, but if we have a major earthquake, and when we think about the earthquake that just happened in Southern California and how strong it was, that it was in the desert, but just think if it was here, what it could have done to our city. I think about that every day, and I think, what would I do if my place was destroyed? I probably would be camping in the park with my tent, unless I had some place to go that was safe. Right? I would. I know the no tent rule, but yes, I can stay at Station 5. I think they have a cot there for me anyway. I asked them, can you put a cot? So I just feel that it's so important that not only is this city ready for anything that could happen, unfortunately, and we know it will someday, but we have to be ready individually. We have a responsibility. I actually just went to a fire in my district a few weeks ago. Everybody ran out of the building. There were like 12 people. The things they forgot when they ran out, they forgot their ID, they forgot their medicine, all of those things. And it keeps going into my mind. Am I ready? Am I ready for an earthquake? Am I ready for a fire or anything other kind of emergency? And I actually went home, and I remember I had an emergency kit that I had put together probably 12, 15 years ago when I did NERT, when NERT was first starting. And the water was expired. My batteries were expired. The flashlight didn't work. The food was old. I was like, I'm not ready. And I didn't have that, the emergency little pack that you're supposed to have by your door to grab and run if something happens. I wasn't ready. And I think about that because I think about, what about my neighbor that's elderly and she has a hard time getting down the stairs? We should be going out, talking to our neighbors. We should be prepared with training of NERT. If you're not a NERT member, please join up. It's actually kind of fun. And we need to start caring about our neighbors and thinking about what we can do individually. How are you signed up for the alert, the emergency alert? Everyone on your phone? Are you? Is your neighbor? This is the kind of things that we need to do because it really takes us as an individual and our neighbors, to really protect each other if this happens. And believe me, if we have an earthquake, I'm heading down to Cafe Revelry, Roger here, and seeing if his coffee machine is working, because these are the places that we have to look at. Are we going to be able to go? Who's left behind? Who needs help? So I'm saying that today, and I really appreciate all the work that this city does, our chief, our fire chief, our police chief, Naomi Kelly, amazing woman, and especially our mayor, for really looking ahead and saying, we need to do this now, and being creative of how we can do this. So I want to thank everyone for coming to District 5 today. It's nice and foggy over here, but cool you down a little before you go back to your jobs. So thank you, everyone. And the next speaker are you going to bring him up? Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Brown. And also, just an important reminder, anyone can go to sf72.org if you want to get prepared for any emergency situation in San Francisco. A lot of great information from the Department of Emergency Management, sf72.org. Now I'd like to introduce someone who has been a 25-year veteran of the San Francisco Fire Department, who just has worked in every capacity in the San Francisco Fire Department, from a paramedic to a firefighter to a chief, battalion chief, and other things, and really has a very thorough knowledge of, how to deal with emergency situations, and is why she is currently serving as the chief of the department. Please welcome Jeanine Nicholson.
Good morning, everyone. I love our San Francisco summer weather. Speaking of NERT, as Supervisor Brown just mentioned, I want to recognize we do have some NERT volunteers right here, and NERT is going to be critical in the event of a disaster. We all know it's not if, it's when. I'd also like to give a shout out to the head of DPW, Mohammed Nuru. We've worked closely with him on this, and he's been a great support and a great ally for us. So as I said, it's not if, it's when a disaster strikes. Our fire department needs to be able to respond immediately. Our firefighters and EMS workers work 24/7, 365, and we need to be able to respond immediately. And this bond will provide the funding that we need to invest in our public safety infrastructure so we can continue to bring the city and the citizens the best service that we possibly can, but especially during a disaster. So thank you all for being here today. Good day.
All right, our last speaker for this program before we finally sign this legislation is the Chief of the Police Department, Bill Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be very brief since I'm the last speaker. I just want to reiterate what the Mayor said. This is all about vision. This is all about our future. The San Francisco Police Department, we have 10 police district stations and 14 other buildings that support specialized units and other support units. Many of our stations are over 65 years old, and when you think about that, like Park Station is one of our older stations. These stations, from the day that the doors open, they are open 24/7. They have always been in use, and many of them are in need of seismic improvements, significant seismic improvements. And we don't want, in the time of an emergency, we don't want to have to worry about whether or not the station is going to be standing. Even though we plan for that, if it happens, that's the last thing we want to worry about. So I, too, want to thank you all for being here. The vision of the mayor, City Administrator Kelly, the Board of Supervisors for looking forward and leaning forward So our city has adequate and the proper infrastructure to respond means everything. So thank you for the leadership, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here. This is only the beginning. The real work begins when we have to campaign to get this ballot measure passed. And we have been successful, as I said, in 2010 and 2014 in getting almost 80% of the support of the voters for previous Easter bonds. And I want to make sure that we top that. So I'm going to need your help, which is why we're all here today to shine a light on this incredibly important bond that will be going on the March 2020 ballot for voters to support. So really appreciate you all being here, and thank you all so much. And don't forget to also vote for the housing bond on the ballot this November. All right, let's get this signed. All right. Free ices?
Yeah, every 7-Eleven.
Oh, wow. Learn something new every day.
No done.
7, 11, 19. Done.